So I live in a pretty remote part of the world, Perth City, which is right about here. We're one of the most isolated cities in the world. It's about 2,000 kilometers to the next major city in Australia.
Oh my god! Wow!
Which is Adelaide. Yuck. I think we'd move further away if we could.
It's pretty difficult to put into words how disgusted I am, how depressed I am.
When the big Rona happened in 2020, we decided that the rest of the world was overrated and closed our borders to pretty much everyone. And inside that beautiful COVID-free bubble we stayed, trapped, embraced by the warmth of our God Premier, Mark McGowan. Of course we weren't really trapped. Western Australia is huge and host to many, many natural wonders and small cozy towns. Which brings me to the main point of my story.
2,000 years later.
Since everyone could no longer cash in their well-earned money for a summer trip to Bali where they could drink copious amounts of beer and methanol-laced spirits, they instead had to look inwards, and thus everyone and their dad had decided they're now an outdoorsman, and as such required a bulletproof rig to take them to the many rocky trails and camping spots that WA has to offer. Now, it used to be that you could buy and sell cars at pretty close to their Red Book value, plus or minus a few cons, because that's how depreciation should work. Something like a car is one of the worst assets you can buy, as it degrades over time, with or without use, especially if you leave it out in the sun.
Hey, can we go on land? No. Why? The sun is a deadly laser. Oh, okay.
Rona, however, really screwed that all up. Where once there were bountiful new cars to supply the market of tradies and soccer mums who needed brand new four-wheel drives, now everything had dried up. Car companies weren't making as many new cars anymore because all the child laborers who make the little bits and semiconductors kept getting sick. Boo! What were they to do? Most people just put their name down on a wait list and got to looking on the used car market.
I am never going to financially recover from this.
Now, the smart people who already had a four-wheel drive and were looking to get rid of it realized this newfound niche and capitalized on it hard.
It's free real estate.
All of a sudden, the price of four-wheel drives and pretty much every other car skyrocketed. You had every Joe Bloggs out here with his beat-to-hell, rusty, leaking Hilux listed for double or even triple its worth. And somehow people were still buying these things.
I'll take your entire stock!
Of course, furthers the chaos, and cars that used to be fairly attainable were now listed for ridiculous prices. So in the middle of all this, I'm trying to get a four-wheel drive, because I'm a tough tradie, and definitely need one. But, of course, being on a low apprentice wage means that I couldn't even dream of affording one without being financed up to my eyeballs. And that was really not somewhere I wanted to be, despite the alluring calls of the big banks whispering sweet nothings into my ear.
Give me your fucking money!
So alas, I was relegated to my armchair where I could do nothing but jeer and boo at all of the insane posts I saw every day, hoping that one day this madness would come to an end.
A few moments later.
Well, fast forward 3 years and I'll be damned if everything isn't basically the same. My wants have changed as they do, like the rising and setting of the sun. Now I obsess over a V8, like some kind of one-third life crisis.
Open them! Ta-da! What do you think?
What was wrong with your old car?
3 little words, Sully. 6-wheel drive.
So again, I plunge deep into the bowels of Marketplace to see what I can see. But again, I'm disappointed. The same posts mirrored back at me, like a reflection I can scarcely change. Cars with high mileage, paint fade, worn parts, and no AC, listed for prices one can only scoff at. The same in every direction you look. The same words reflected back at me. Well, if you can't afford it, mate, that's your problem. But why should I accept this ultimatum when I know that it shouldn't be so? Have we all really devolved into monstrous capitalists, intent on keeping the masquerade of artificial value and scarcity rolling on? It feels unfair because it is. It feels familiar because it's happening everywhere else you look. My story is a selfish, privileged one, but perhaps relatable in one way or another. Skyrocketing rent, a homeless crisis, people unable to feed themselves, and countries torn apart by war. All reflections of the reality we live in and sometimes choose to ignore. It's times like this when it's probably a good idea to take a step back and assess what it is we all truly, really want. Do you really need that second house, brand new car, or 12-pack of donuts, when perhaps there is someone just outside your own narrow world of view who could really use a hand?